Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy entrepreneurs, professionals, and business owners publish to grow their businesses and to leave a legacy. We're doing a series of spotlights on remarkable experts across the country and in your town. Joining me on this segment is Bryan Flanagan. He's the founder of Flanagan Training. Bryan, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Bryan, tell us a little bit about Flanagan Training and specifically the types of folks that you help.
Primarily, I work with people who are in the sales profession, but find themselves there accidentally. I work with a lot of non-traditionally minded salespeople. A lot of people are trying to sell, Mark, before they're trained to sell. And that's where I kind of step in. Once again, I work with people who don't want to be professional salespeople, but are professionals who must sell.
Totally get that. And I resonate with what you said, because a lot of folks selling, quite frankly, is a very seldom thought about process for folks. They just kind of think it's a job. Anybody can do it. What's the biggest misconception about that? People thinking that anybody can just do sales.
I believe the biggest misconception is that selling is a personality. It's not a process. Well, I think the opposite of that. I know that selling is a process because not everybody will buy your personality. But you're absolutely right. A lot of us find ourselves as quote unquote accidental salespeople, reluctant salespeople, because Mark, I don't know where you were raised, but your mom raised you the same way my mother raised me. Here's what they said to us. Don't talk to strangers. Don't ask people for money. So we go into sales.
And we do exactly that. Yeah. So Bryan, when people get into selling, what are some of the? It's a big misconception, quite frankly. But I know sales is like one of the most lucrative career paths people can take. I've even heard people that are in the know in selling say, "Hey, I really wanted to make a lot of money, so I knew I was going to get into sales." Right. Tell me some of the big benefits about sales in general.
One of the little taglines I heard many years ago: good salespeople and good repairmen never go hungry. There's always a need for someone who can communicate the benefits of your problems being solved by my product or service. But the biggest misconception, I think, is that other than personality based, is the fact that we have a tendency to get passionate about what we sell, how we serve people. And what I contend is that we make a mistake when we do that, because I believe you should place your talent ahead of your passion. Because I can be passionate about something and oversell it. Yet if I'm skilled, if I've been trained, if I understand the methodology, then I have a better understanding of what you need and how you need it. Then I can show you my passion. But I believe it requires skills to be able to communicate your passion.
To your point, Bryan, you mentioned a big misconception is people talk about the thing that they're selling and all the nooks and crannies and the workings of the thing, and you just mentioned that's a huge common mistake for most salespeople when they should be. What should they really be looking for communicating with their prospect?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, when you leave an initial contact with the person, whether it be face-to-face or these days over the phone, ask yourself this question. At the end of that interaction, who knows more about whom? Do you know more about the prospect? Do you know more about some of his challenges, her concerns, or do they know more about you? Because the problem is we have a tendency to, the old saying is show up and throw up, and they already have your product. They're using someone else's. But the value of what you sell is the way you have a chance to replace the competition and install your solution. But too often we're talking about we lead with product, and my concept is you should lead with need.
And it also links to that expression we're born with 2 ears and only one mouth. So it sounds like you really got to listen to that prospect more than you doing all the talking, because you see a lot of salespeople mistakenly do that too. They show up and they throw up.
Yeah. The number one mistake, I believe, in my experience, the one The one mistake that we make, and I think it's the biggest mistake, is that we skip a stage. We have a tendency to sell the product, the solution, the service before the buyer is aware he has a need for that product, that solution, or that service. We skip stages. As soon as I find out that you need education for your children, boom, I go into an instrument that'll do that without asking you why it's important. What have you done? If you could do this, how would you feel about it? I'm not mentioning product. I've tried to find out what you want so that I can influence you that this is the solution you should take. I'm a big believer whoever has the most information has the most influence.
So for sales folks and sales teams that come to see you that need help, they want to change something. What do you find is their biggest challenge? Like what do they vocalize to you that they feel like they're having a challenge with?
Prospecting right now, especially prospecting, because the world has changed in the last year, as we all know. Prospecting has gone from maybe having a face-to-face to now inundating these people with a lot of, whether it be voicemails, emails, text, however you're trying to reach them. And one of the biggest problems there, Mark, is that people are putting their purpose before the buyer's benefit. And if I could leave you with one thing, or the listeners here with one thing, when you're initiating contact, give the buyer something to listen to by presenting a value or an advantage or a benefit before you tell them the purpose of my call. Mark, I'm Bryan Flanagan, Flanagan Training Group. We do sales training. The purpose of my call is I've given you no value in which to listen or to return my call. If we give a value first, Mark, I work with entrepreneurs such as yourself to shorten the sales cycle and make more money quicker. The purpose of my call is, then at least I've tried to give you an advantage or a benefit before I've stated the reason that I called.
And it gets my attention for the reason why you might be a valuable person for me to meet.
Yeah, and now people will say, well, I don't know you well enough. Then you have to give a general benefit. If I knew you, if I got a referral from our friend down here in Dallas, Pat Dewar, and he said, here's where Mark is, here's what he needs, then I can give a more specific benefit. Yet if I'm calling cold, I've got to give you a general benefit and make a couple of assumptions that you want to shorten the sales cycle. You want to get out of the day-to-day selling as the entrepreneur and move that to someone else. I've got to make some of those observations and assumptions in a general sense.
It's gaining that affinity for, like, there's a reason why, maybe I should listen to him. He's speaking to a problem or a challenge that I do have. Yeah, I want to quick shorten my sales cycle. What does he have to say?
Yeah. Compelling reason to at least, what I'm trying to do with the prospect is buy one more minute of airtime, just to get the conversation to the next level. And I think the best way to do that is to lead with them and not you.
So Bryan, how difficult does selling have to be? Is this because for some, I mean, we're always learning, school's never out for the pro. Is it something you can pick up rather quickly and sharpen your skills quickly? And how long is the process to get really masterful?
Well, it's taken me 50 years, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure it takes everybody that long. You never graduate from selling. You're absolutely right. But I think what happens is that some people are predisposed to be people. Some other people are predisposed to be servants. And both the extrovert and the introvert can be very successful. But I think the key, this is my background, this is my experience, is a process, some type of methodology. Therefore, I don't have to make up something every time I contact a new person. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I've got a process that's focused on you, the client, and I put my personality in there. I think that's the best way to learn to sell.
Bryan, tell us a little bit about what inspired you. As you mentioned, did you fall into sales accidentally like everybody else? What did inspire you to get started in sales, and especially what got you started teaching others the master sales?
When I was in school, when I was in college, I thought I wanted to be a high school basketball coach. My wife was my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, was in elementary education. And we're from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we wanted to stay there, we thought. Teachers didn't make a lot of money. So I went to my brother, my older brother. Our dad had died a couple of years prior to this. So my brother was kind of my go-to adult. And I said, I'm going to get in College of Education this semester. He said, why? I said, I want to coach. He said, here's what you do. You get a degree in anything and come sell for my insurance company. You'll be able to coach anything you want to coach because you'll have the wherewithal, the time, whatever. And that was great advice. So I got a general studies degree, and was very lucky, Mark. I got a job as a delivery boy. As I tell people jokingly, although it's true, my second senior year in college, I got a job as a delivery boy for IBM, and that led to a 14-year career. I was a salesman. I was a sales instructor at IBM's National Training Center, sales manager. Then I came back to Dallas, and I was blessed enough to have been touched by the work of Zig Ziglar. I'd read his book in 1978. I begged him for a job, and in 1984, he hired me. And that allowed me to do the things that I really had a passion about: selling, teaching selling, and managing salespeople. So that led to really right now a 37-year career in training and development.
Wow, incredible. Bryan, for folks listening right now, clearly you have the credentials and the track record for this. They'd love to learn selling, and they'd love to connect with you and learn more. Where can they go, and what do you have to offer them?
FlanaganTraining.com, my website, FLANAGAN, FlanaganTraining.com. The website talks about the two things that I really enjoy and think I can impact people. And if I don't live it, I don't give it. So I stay pretty close to those two things. And Mark, one of them is selling, and the other is presentation skills. Prior to my joining a Toastmasters club when I was 24, I couldn't lead a group in silent prayer. So I learned the skills necessary. And the same is true in selling. Although IBM had trained me, I wasn't very good. My first few years, that didn't mean I didn't sell a lot. I did. I sold my furniture and I sold my car, but I had to learn a process. And that's what got me on a successful path to being as a sales professional. So those are the two things that I do. And if you have a need for those, my phone number is 214-505-5109. And what I try to do is work with people who have a desire to get better, but it just hasn't come together. I had a lot of help being successful in sales, and Zig Ziglar was one of the biggest helps I had, because he told me on page 48 of his book, See You at the Top, you cannot consistently perform in a manner that's inconsistent with the way you see yourself. So one of the things I like to do is work with the salesperson as well as the sales professional.
Excellent. Bryan, this has been fantastic. Terrific insights. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with my audience today. And I wish you continued success for you, for Flanagan Training, and all of your students and clients.
Well, Mark, I appreciate the avenue to do so. Thank you. You keep making a difference in your world. Go get them.
Thank you so much. Bryan Flanagan, founder of Flanagan Training. And this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy entrepreneurs, professionals, business owners, and salespeople publish to grow their businesses and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for tuning in.